everybody, and welcome to Corrections, week of Tuesday, August 17th. I feel like we always overvalue Monday. Tuesday was just as important in making this a week. Let's start with the fact that I complained that Vince Vaughn wasn't in Loki. I thought it would be great if he and Owen Wilson were in Loki together, and plus he could then say, buddy, 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 because there were 3 Lokis. And then we showed a picture, and a lot of you pointed out that the photo we showed, there were actually 4 Lokis because there was alligator Loki. The problem is, my Vaughn only works with 3 buddies. Buddy, 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 that's Vince Vaughn. Buddy, 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 it could be anyone. I said PIN number. The N in PIN is number. So when I say PIN number, I'm saying personal identification number. It was an error. Or an homage to my favorite Goodfellas character, Johnny 2 Times. We talked about cliff diving. I talked about wearing a squirrel suit to go cliff diving. Then I got corrected and I said I meant to say base diving. It's base jumping. Base is an acronym. Do you know what it stands for, Shoemaker?
Nope.
Why do I come to you? It's the 4 things you can jump off. Base is buildings, antennae, spans, meaning bridges, and earth, meaning cliffs. All right, there's a poll, a company, an organization, I don't even know what they are. Quinnipiac. I think I said Quinnipiac. So here's what I want you to do. Quinnipiac or Quinnipiac. I need everybody to take out their phones. If you think the first one was right, press 1. We talked about flutes and how there are no left-handed flutes. So people said to me, there are left-handed flutes. They're expensive. But there's a company, Viento. A couple of people said, Viento makes them. So I looked it up, and there is a company, a German company, Viento, that makes left-handed flutes. They're not a sponsor. Okay, we've never had a sponsor in Corrections. That's not what this is about. But I did think it would be fun. I would like to, maybe I'll just do an ad for them. And then with the hopes that they just have a massive week. Right? They sell more, like the left-handed flutes are just flying off the shelves. Then they'll come back to us and say, oh my God, that was great. And then we'll have them over a barrel. A newcomer to the United States instrument market, Viento flutes are a fine value for the money. These flutes are designed for entry-level flutists and are built to take the challenges that a young owner can present a flute. Very eggy language there. I double-checked before I said it, because I thought it was flautists. Either work, flutist or flautist are the same. So a flutist would sound like this. And a flautist would sound like this. And a flatulist would sound like this. That is bass humor, which means it's funny in a building. Oh, I misspoke. I just said a word wrong. I said that Mike Lindell was a pillow magnet. He's a pillow magnate. He is a lawsuit magnet. I also said that my pillows, as a joke, I jokingly said they were filled with rock-hard calcified turds, which people told me there's a word for, coprolite, It's not a correction. That was just like a helpful, like, hey, Seth, here's some new vocab for you. So coprolite. And I should stress, they are not filled with rock-hard calcified turds. And just out of good faith, I went on the MyPillow website today to try to find out what they were filled with. Could not find out. Not a helpful website. With everything else. This was in the FAQs. I went to the FAQs on the website, trying to find out what's in a MyPillow. There were only six FAQs. One was, can I get MyPillow in Canada? You've been frequently asked that? This one was it said, how do I know what pillow I have? This is a frequently asked question. Yellow will have yellow writing on the tag. White will have black writing on the tag. Green will have green writing on the tag. Blue will have blue writing on the tag. I don't know why they did a white one that had black writing on the tab. I'm starting to think this guy and I think differently. Also, a lot of people have said, based on my impression of Mike Lindell, hey, he's not from Chicago. He's from Minnesota. Stop making him sound like one of the SNL superfans. And he is from Minnesota, but I learned a lesson this year, and that lesson is sometimes what you want to be true is more important than what is actually true. And I learned that from Mike Lindell. I talked about this last week, because this was in last week's correction, that if Rudy had been told to book a press conference at the Waldorf Astoria, he would book it at a Walmart in Astoria. A lot of people said, there's not a Walmart in Astoria. I corrected myself. Then, some people from Oregon were like, hey, there's a Astoria in Oregon that has a Walmart. So because when we can, we will fix the problem. We will go back and re-edit a closer look. So if you were good to go back now, this is what you would see. I'm at the Walmart in Astoria, Oregon. Also, I did double check. I don't know if it's actually in Astoria, Oregon. It's in Warrenton, Oregon, which is next door. So this is a true question I'm asking for our Oregonian people in Oregon. People of Oregon, be honest. If I said to you, meet me at the Walmart in Astoria, would you know what I meant? Press 1. I talked about my contest with Lord about who's a better painter, and I said that I moved the poll from the late night Twitter account to the Sea Captain Polls Twitter account because I thought there would be less Lord fans there, fewer Lord fans there. Although I also hope they were like just less fans of hers. Like still fans, just a little bit less, and that would. Okay. We talked about Prince of Tides and how I had late fees because I rented Prince of Tides from Blockbuster when I was 18 years old. And I said, yeah, I read it when I was 18. I was one of the kids who liked watching Prince of Tides, and a bunch of people said, if you were 18, you weren't a kid. And now here's the crazy thing. We had originally written the joke to say when I was 17, I rented Prince of Tides, so I would have been fine. This is an actual email we got from our fact checker, noting that Seth would have turned 18 on December 28th, 1991. Prince of Tides was released in theaters Christmas Day 1991. Unless he somehow got a bootleg VHS in those 3 days, which Blockbuster would not have been renting, he would have had to rent Prince of Tides when he was over 18 and in 1992. The jackals are inside the house. I also said it was $60,000 in late fee. A lot of people took issue with that. They said it was $1 a day at Blockbuster and there was a cap. And even if it was $1 a day and there was no cap, it wouldn't have been $60,000. But then someone else said, yeah, but Blockbuster, what they did was they actually turned over all the late fees to a collection agency. So it wasn't Blockbuster trying to get the money, it was a collection agency. And that made sense to me because I remember once a few years ago, and again, I still had Prince of Tides, right? I hadn't returned it. I'm in the grocery store, I'm in like the produce section. And there's just this like guy, this like hulking guy next to me in the produce section. He's just sort of looking over at me. And finally I look over and I make eye contact and he's like, how you doing? You okay? You okay? And I say, yeah, I'm fine. He goes, that's good. Because I got a friend, he's not okay. Yeah, he's not okay. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. He goes, yeah, his name's Tom Wingo. You ever heard of Tom Wingo? And I had, because that's Nick Nolte's character's name in Prince of Time. But obviously I'm starting to get a little worried. I'm like, I don't think I have heard of Tom Wingo. He goes, yeah, that's funny, because I heard you had. I heard you had heard about him. And I want to check up on him, see what he's done, see if he's come back from New York City, moved back to Charleston. But I can't, because you got the tape. And I had to give him 60 grand. We said that Donald Trump looked tired the other day, and we said it looked like he accidentally reached for Diet Coke but had Sudafed instead. Many of you said Sudafed. I should have said NyQuil, because Sudafed is like basically an amphetamine, and that's why you need to show ID to get Sudafed, because a lot of people use it illicitly. And that made sense to me, because I feel like the energy of those of you who leave comments, it has like a methy energy. Like you're all cranked up on ice. Should we watch Closer Look again and look for flubs? Pundit. We say pundit a lot, and I don't know why. I do say pundit. And I got to stop doing it. It's wrong. I have no defense of it. I will say, I wish it was pundit so that when they were wrong, because I think a lot of pundits go on the cable news shows, and when they come on, a lot of the things they say are wrong. It would be fun, like 6 months after the fact, to do, you could do like a series, you could do a feature on your show, a recurring segment where you would have a pundit on, if they were called pundits. Again, this is me just being wishful thinking, where you would show them something they had said that they'd gotten wrong, and you could call it, oh no, you pundit. Emmy voting is open. This is an Emmy-nominated piece of content. We've talked about this. What we have not talked about are our fellow nominees in the category, all of whom we would be honored to lose to. Randy Rainbow, Such a Funny Gentleman. You can check him out on YouTube. Carpool Karaoke, as good a recurring segment on any late night talk show in the last decade. They have a show on Apple. That's with their friend James Corden. Tuning Out the News is this incredibly inventive cartoon political interview show that Stephen Colbert produces. Fantastic. We kind of have to see it to believe it. Do search that out. And Reno 911, which was a fantastic show for years on Comedy Central, and had a new season on Quibi. And Thomas Lennon and others, our friends, did that show. And so, you know, all wonderful shows. And I don't know if I'm the right person to say this, but I think it's pretty cool that I mentioned him. You know? Didn't have to. I don't know, I'm just saying, I'm me. So I can't say, but I feel like if I wasn't me right now, I would be like, all right. But so anyway, I think all five just super. But you know, but the only thing I'll say is like, you know, we did this together, guys. All right. See you next week.